What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with the Destiny 2 Festival of the Lost video. And in this one we're going to focus on how to get candy, of course the festival currency, and particularly we'll focus on exotic class item drops during Festival of the Lost, and the fastest ways to earn both the currency and the class items themselves. This is focused more on solo players, since solo players can now earn the exotic class items, but the strats we'll discuss also work for teams of course. However, the goal here is to give solo players fast, efficient options for unlocking as many class items as possible during the 3 weeks that Festival of the Lost is active. So we'll talk about everything you need to know in relation to exotic class items and earning candy for Festival. As always, I hope you find this video useful, and if you do, get subscribed to the channel, as we're going to have a lot more Destiny content to discuss over the next few weeks. But for now, let's get into it. And firstly, let's mention what Bungie have said in relation to Festival and earning exotic class items. Firstly, players need to own the final shape in order to access exotic class items. But for the first time, players won't have to have completed Dual Destiny in order to purchase the Festival of the Lost exotic class item rewards. So it's going to give solo players the first opportunity to get this without Dual Destiny. And Bungie have added that unlocking the exotic class items via Festival of the Lost will also provide access to purchasing them from Xur, and to getting them as rewards from overthrow chests in the Pale Heart. So it's cool that this is opened up, but Bungie do add Dual Destiny will still need to have been completed in order to use the exotic attunement for class items, which of course is the system that guarantees a perk in a particular slot. So completing that will still be an option, but otherwise this is the first opportunity for players to pick up exotic class items without having completed Dual Destiny. And so to get the first class item unlocked, you can play whatever activities you like during Festival of the Lost. Keep in mind that to earn candy, we have to be wearing a Festival of the Lost mask, and we get those via the intro quest from Evil Levante. But for fast candy week to week, firstly, it's worth picking up all of the tree candy from the trees in the tower. This can be done once per week per character after weekly reset, and it'll give a pretty good head start for earning candy moving forward. In fact, it's a few hundred candy between both of the trees, so be sure to visit both of those in the tower courtyard and the one next to Ikora. Additionally, Evil Levante's weekly bounties award 250 candy per completion, and there are a couple that we can do each week. So on top of the daily bounties that award 30 candy, those are pretty useful, and I believe there'll be 1 or 2 event challenges visible in the event card which will award a chunk of candy as well, so look out for those as you complete festival content. In terms of activities though, we just tested a bunch of solo-friendly, easy activities to see how much candy would drop, and how long it would take. Shout out to Profane Gamer here for giving us a few numbers from various activities. And Blind Well, Altars of Sorrow, and Overthrow on Pale Heart all award 240 candy per completion, in addition to the candy dropped on the ground. So you might get around about 300 candy per completion if you're lucky, and each of these take between around 10 and 20 minutes to complete. I'm pretty disappointed in the overthrow drop rate because I did have my fingers crossed that this would be the way to go, given that exotic class items can drop from the chests or boss tier completions. I did pick up an exotic class item along the way, and all of us, after unlocking our first exotic class item, will be able to get them dropped at random while running overthrow. That includes if you pick it up via Festival of the Lost. So this is going to be especially useful after Festival ends, keep that in mind, but for the moment, if you're talking pure efficiency and guaranteed drop rate, Overthrow just seems to take a little bit too long in terms of earning candy at the minute. We tested Onslaught, and the match-made version dropped no additional candy on completion, so we only picked up what was dropped from enemies, and that was maybe 100 candy in 10 minutes or so. Last year, I think we got 350 candy from Vanguard Ops Strikes, and about 250 for Crucible or Gambit matches. So those are options. Funnily enough, from testing Haunted Sectors, while enemies drop a decent amount of candy, the completion itself didn't actually drop any additional candy, so Haunted Sectors only really appear to be useful for manifested pages and Eerie Engrams, which of course are still important for Festival overall. And so, the conclusion. This is where it gets predictable. Boring as they may be, heroic public events drop 185 per completion. Of course, they can be done easily while solo, generally will be with other players, but it's also fast, especially on the EDZ, where there are so many public events available that it's always pretty much been the best destination to use for this farm. So we're going into classic EDZ public event farm right here. If you hop from one public event to the next, making them heroic, at a push, if you are lucky, you might be able to get 3 heroic public event clears in about 10 minutes. And the completions alone amount to a total of 555 candy. And with the extra candy that we get on enemy kills, that'll be closer to around 600 candy every 10 to 12 minutes if you're lucky. And so, if we assume that we can run 3 heroic public events every 10 minutes, that should amount to around 3,300 candy per hour. And even if we assume that we can only do 2 heroic public events in every 10 minutes, that would be around 2,200 candy per hour. So, being realistic, most players will get between 2 and 3 heroic events every 10 minutes. And so I'd say on average, it should be possible to earn 2,500 candy per hour on public events alone. But of course, we will still need that Eerie Engram, and that will drop in haunted sectors. So in theory, in a perfect world, every 50 minutes to an hour, you'd need to run a haunted sector as well, and then you could get another exotic class item. And so if you're farming continuously, you can basically earn an exotic class item every hour by running heroic public events. Or alternatively, you could farm Match-Made Overthrow on the Pale Heart, and if you're lucky, you could earn enough candy to buy an exotic class item about every 2 hours, but during that time farming, you might get 2 or 3 exotic class items depending on RNG. So aside from the lower candy drop rate, that's the only additional downside to Overthrow, is relying on the RNG for the class item drops. Just keep in mind if you do choose Overthrow that you have to have unlocked an exotic class item before they will begin to drop randomly from this event. So be sure to get your first one from Festival before you even try it. And really that's how I would summarize this. If you want a predictable flow of 1 exotic class item about every hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes, then farming heroic public events like an absolute maniac is going to be your best bet, but it is particularly boring, I guess. Otherwise, if you're prepared to rely a bit more on RNG and maybe have worse runs and better runs, then Overthrow completions, with random drops of class items mixed in with the candy drops, I'd certainly say it's another viable option. And finally, before I get a bunch of comments correcting me, you also just have the option to play the game and get class items when you have enough candy. Do it your own way, man, but if you want to farm, heroic public events are looking pretty strong at the moment. So there we go. That's my roundup for today. I hope it has been useful. Give us your experiences down below, any activities you've been using to farm candy. We might be able to help each other out in the comment section. Of course, later in the event, in a couple of days or even a few hours, it's possible someone will find a crazy exploit. I can't write that possibility off, but for the moment, exploits aside, this appears to be the most reliable, simplistic, very soloable way to get exotic class items. So I hope the video has been useful. If it has, a rating below very much helps us on the channel. Also be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you up to date with more content. Otherwise though, cheers for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.